Recording? That looks about right. Okay. Hi, my name is Emily. I don't know if you've been to my channel before, but I'm just reading a bunch of books right now, and I wanted to share some of those books with you, so let's get into it. First, we're going to start off with comic books. The first one I'm reading is called Multiple Warheads. It's by Brandon Graham. It's got really great illustration, and it's really beautiful, and if you like Soviet style, like radiation, future type of comic books, Multiple Warheads is a lot of fun, and it's really funny, and it's got a lot of really dumb comedy in it. The next one I'm reading is Bohemians. This is a graphic novel, I think you would call it. It's about everybody from like Gertrude Stein to Marcel Duchamp and Josephine Baker and Charlie Parker, just a bunch of really great people from the early 20th century. And it's a compilation, so it's a bunch of different artists. It's a lot of fun. Again, this is another graphic novel comic book. It's the Boondocks, which if you've ever seen the TV show, you know that it's pretty funny. And it's called A Right to Be Hostile. It's a compilation of a bunch of different things. It's just really hilarious. Then you've seen some of the stuff from it, right? Mm-hmm. Is it funny?
Yes.
I don't know if they could hear you, but you gotta take our word for it. It's funny. I also recently read America's Best Comics 2014. If you read any of the American Best Comics compilations, that's a really great place to start. The next book is called Killing Rage, Ending Racism, and I'm pretty sure it's essentially a book that links sexism and racism and says we cannot end racism until ending sexism. And this really sucks, but I can't tell you why because I haven't gone too deep into this book. It's by Bell Hooks. I suggest it. The next one I got from Red Emma's in Baltimore. It's Anarchism For Beginners. And this is also a book that is a graphic book, but it's not a graphic novel. It's not like a total comic book, but it's very explanatory. It talks about anarchism and also socialism and linking everything to libertarianism, which I am not a libertarian. Sorry. I mean, I could be. It would be a little bit of a stretch.
I'd break up with you.
You'd break up with me?
If you were a libertarian. Yeah.
All right, you guys, you heard it here. The next one I'm reading is Fellini On Fellini, which is by the Italian filmmaker Fellini. He's pretty serious, but the way that he writes about his movies it's pretty comical, and he's a pretty funny guy. Writing short films, this is a book for a class. I haven't really gotten too deep in it, but if you've checked out my channel before, you know that I make a lot of short films, so I should probably read about writing them. All right. Next is one that you might have heard of before. It's The New Jim Crow by Michelle Alexander, and it's about mass incarceration and a bunch of different topical political issues and how they interact with race relations. And I love this book. It's so good, but it depresses me so hard that I have to take really long breaks in between reading it just for my mentality, because it's like, this is how the government screwed over X people. This is how the government screwed over Y people. This is how the government's using everybody to screw over each other. It's just like, it's tiring, but very informative. Angela Davis's Autobiography. I saw it and I was like, this is a beautiful book about a beautiful person, and I just had to read it. So it's about a bunch of experiences, kind of almost like a journal, and it's really good. I would recommend it. She was also a college professor, so reading it as a college student is like, The Notebooks of Jean-Michel Basquiat. What I love about it is the format. Everything in here, like nothing is really edited. Even like you'll see stains in here, which I really love. Most of them are just really super brief. Like this page says, baby say. See, there's a stain on this page, which is really amazing. A lot of people are like, well, isn't this personal? Isn't this like invasive of like his thought process and like publishing his journals? But actually, this is more like a sketchbook of a bunch of the text that he wrote in his paintings. So it's something that he shared with people, and it's something that he intended for other people to see. Afrofuturism by Yatasha Womack. It's about the history of Afrofuturism, the history of blacks in sci-fi and fantasy culture. It's a really great read. If any of you guys have checked out my Afrofuturist Manifesto short film, you'll know that I'm really into Afrofuturism and the philosophies. This talks about everything from like Janelle Monáe to Parliament Funkadelic. The next book I'm reading is called Psychedelics. It's pretty self-explanatory. It's just about psychedelics and somewhat the science that goes behind them, the history that goes behind them, birth of counterculture, and again, it's like It has some pictures, but it's very interesting and you learn a lot of stuff. And even though it's like it's not the most professionally written book, it's not like the most like critical book, but I mean, they're not, how many books about psychedelics are there, right? So this is it's fine. The next one I'm reading is by Eckhart Tolle. It's A New Earth, Awakening to Your Life's Purpose. Apparently it was on Oprah's list or something, but one of my friends suggested it to me. It's pretty cool. I'm all about trying to get rid of my ego, so this is what this book is all about, ego death. La 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 la. It's interesting. I'm not like a spiritual person. I don't consider myself a spiritual person, but if you're a spiritual person, I would suggest checking this one out. It's all right. I mean, it's pretty good if you want to like get rid of your ego, which I'm all about. So that's the primary reason why I got this. The next book is super notorious. It's The God Delusion by Richard Dawkins. I'm probably going to lose like 5 subscribers for telling you guys that I'm reading this book, but I am. Now, I'm pretty on board with Richard Dawkins. Mostly, I'm going to say mostly on board with Richard Dawkins. And just this book is pretty great. It's pretty thick. It's pretty dense. I mean, I got it in high school. I'm still reading it now. So it's a lot to dilly-dally through. It's got a lot of good information. And there's also a movie called The God Delusion if you just don't feel like buying the book and you're on YouTube. There is. And speaking of gods, the next one I'm reading is by Neil Gaiman. And it's called American Gods. And it's a book about what if like all of the gods from the immigrants who came to America came along with them or were lost with them. It's also about us worshiping other things like television and media and towns and cities. And like, it's kind of a battle between the old and the new. And it's fantasy fictional, kind of fictional. And it's a pretty dense read, but I got a lot of it done over this break and I'm almost finished with it. I'm reading a few other books, but not as in-depth as I'm reading these books. So I'll link them in the description. And thank you so much for checking out this video. Please like and subscribe to my channel if you haven't yet. And share this video if you know a bunch of other people who are looking for books to read. Thanks. Bye.
Please stop it right away. I remember just what it said.